Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2. It is Sunday, October 7th, and today we are scheduled to go to the Stephen F. Udvar Hazy Center, and later on we are going to be traveling up to Gettysburg, so, you know what? Let us take a look-see, shall we? It's a little bit misty and hazy out there, but that's no matter. It's kind of hard to see all the things down the way, but anyway, it's pretty good. So, I'm getting up. I'll be probably taking a bath or a shower, and then we'll go for breakfast, and then get everything all set to go. So, yeah, that's basically it. This is going to be a good morning, so rise and shine, happy Sunday, and we'll see you guys out there. Be seeing ya. Oops. Fail the morning, forget to unlock the door. Time to head down to breakfast. How'd you sleep, Dad?
Very well.
It is going to be a hot one today. Dad, what'd you say? 86?
87 and sun.
Fair enough. Off for breakfast. So, that was a very good breakfast, and heading back to the room to pack up before we gotta go, because once we leave, we're heading to the Hazy Center, and then after that, we are traveling to Gettysburg, so let's get a move on, shall we? Let's roll. Well, just about done cleaning up, so we're gonna get out of here and go check out the place. And hopefully the sun will come out and we'll get some better clarity of the matter. So, let's get on the road. Ready to go, Daddy-O?
You betcha.
Let's roll, shall we?
Hang on, I just want to get a place to put my deadies. Guess I'll just walk with that one.
So long, room. It's nice spending the time with you for the night.
It's not a lumping. Okay.
And now off we go downstairs. Again.
Well, that was definitely worth the money.
I'll definitely agree to that. Busy, busy, busy today.
Where are we going? Right turn here.
In 600 feet, use the right lane to turn right onto US 50 East. In a quarter mile, keep left at the fork to continue toward Virginia 28 North. fork. In a quarter mile, take the exit toward Air and Space Museum Parkway. Keep left at the fork. Keep right at the fork. In half a mile, you will arrive at your destination.
What does this say?
There it is.
So we'll have to pay $15 later. Finish that before we go in. I have no idea where the entrance is. But we're gonna park way out here at the end. Alright, we'll go down here. This is open parking, right? Next to these folks. Max car.
Well, folks, here we are. If you probably can't tell, the big back of this building. Oh my gosh. You look at this. That is an aircraft hangar. These things are huge. So, let's go inside. This is going to be absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to see all this stuff. Keep your head up, Dad.
On our way to the hospital.
Observation tower up there. I don't know, she needs to Google it. So here we are inside the Hayes Center, and I gotta say, this place is huge. Now remember, I did say that the main part of this is in a giant aircraft hangar. Now the first thing we're gonna be doing is we're going downstairs to go up to the stairs to go up to the observation tower. Now you're probably wondering, why is there an observation tower here? Well, very simple. If you guys didn't hear me the first time, I did say that this place is on the outskirts of Dulles International Airport. Ain't that right, Dad?
Yep.
So, we go down now, and we are going to have to go up. So, alright, so there it is. Okay, cool. So here we are. Let's go up. Here we go.
Hi. You're from Buffalo, New York?
Yep.
Absolutely.
I have a daughter who lives in Joseph. You guys get snow like crazy. Yeah. I know.
We're used to it. Yep.
Look at this, folks. That is where all the aircraft are down there in that giant hangar building. And that's where we came from, all the way over there. Zoom in right there. And then you look. That right there is Dulles International Airport. It looks like there's already activity on the runways. Little dedication thing right there. Man, what a view. Look, little stink bug on the glass. But man, you look at all that down there. That's the theater. All the surroundings. Oh, dig that. That thing is saying that we got a plane coming. Wonder which side it's coming from. There's a runway there, and there's a runway there. I guess we'll find out. Interesting. Ah, yes, I have seen General Lee's house. Man, it's so beautiful from up here. If you want to read this, pause it. There is going to be a lot to film today.
Sit on the beach and then go back to Puerto Rico, and that's only a 3-hour flight, 2.5-hour flight. I don't need to go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Not worth the 8 hours I'm going to spend on a plane for tropical beaches with cool drinks. And I hear Hawaii is how expensive it is. Because I used to work for Ray County Defense Systems, and I have friends who go out on MLU, and like the per diem you got was great.
Hey,
like, barely
the
$80.
A380's
You
moving.
could spend $100 a day on meals. Someone told me the median home price is like $1 million.
Unless
they're like, it's
like New Jersey, you're gonna get heckled, but you better expect it. Like you're not gonna get threatened with your life.
Yeah.
You do it in Philly.
Oh, and that's how it's, and you know what, it's not even, and even in Europe, with the football, the soccer, the English football fans know all these people. There's violence that will break out in the stadiums. I mean, even the worst sports fans here are downright civil compared to Europe. I hear it's getting better now. It's like Gary Oldman, the actor, used to say that I can't take my kids to sports games in Europe. That's why I like it. I like it in America. It's so simple.
As they say.
But yeah, I think it's
just throwing bags of blood.
I think it's just silly.
It is.
It's just stupid. Canada's sports exactly.
2 hours later, it's all over.
It's all exact.
Go to the bar and talk about it and think about the next one.
It's the same thing with politics, right? I mean, yesterday, all these crazy protesters who were getting arrested, and I'm like, well, you know what? If you don't like it, go out, have a drink, and vote. That's what kind of annoys me. Half the people probably complain of how many people didn't vote in the election and complain about their results.
come down?
Yeah, he just landed. Didn't use much. Well, the ceiling's only, they told me it's only 700 feet, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty low.
I was wondering how low it was.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't get an idea from here.
No, I did, a couple of them took off and they disappeared after like 3 seconds. There was another one. I was hoping he might taxi out to take off this way. The ceiling's because I've never seen it take off. He looks like he's. Yeah, there's a point in Boston called Constitution Beach, and they come right overhead. It looks like it's coming in so slow. The thing that I always remember about the Ford is the wings. I think the 747 is big, but this guy's wing is massive.
You think that's crazy? You should see the wingspan of a B-36. It's the biggest bomber in regards to wingspan.
I've seen it. 36.
I'm guessing that it was probably in Dayton, Ohio.
Yep, Wright Patterson, I think it was.
Yeah, my
Have you seen an
grand.
Antonov 225, a Russian 6-engine transport?
No, I do wish to see that one time.
Yeah, I remember when that thing came out.
That thing's crazy.
A lot of times, most of the time nowadays, people call it the Antonov 500.
Is he turning to go this way? Or is he turning to set up over there?
He's setting up, I think, for Greece or taxiway.
So he's gonna.
Yeah, I doubt he'll take off to the north. It'd be kind of dumb to take off to the tail. 2 days, I think 3 or 4 days ago when I was in the Air France guy was about to land on one line. I was walking back actually because I left my car at Chick-fil-A. Because I've been here so many times, like, well, you know, get home. And it's not, it's like less than a 15-minute walk. It really is nothing. Like he was about to land in 100 feet, fucking rocketed away. Missed approach and then came around. I don't know why.
I think I flew into Dulles. No. Maybe it was Reagan.
See,
I think it was
the
Reagan.
problem with
Reagan's
Dulles,
small.
yeah, and it's overcrowded, and you do the approach over the river, which is like they make that steep turn.
And we came
If you're not used to it, it can be pretty scary.
And we were coming, we were darn close. And somebody actually out onto the runway. The freaking pilot pulls straight up and we just shot right back up into the sky. It's like, holy cow.
You know, so when I go spotting near Wranglers, every time there's always a missed approach. It's like they cut it really close there.
Porta Plata and stuff. So
Oh yeah, that's their parents.
What plane are you asking?
Porta Plata is so close.
yeah.
And my dad.
What plane are you asking?
The resorts, the all-inclusive, are so cheap.
You're referring to this big one over here?
No, like the one that's all the way in the back.
Looks like I don't know, maybe I'm going crazy, but I feel like the ceilings are clearing up a little
It
bit.
looks like a small plane. It might be either an Airbus A320 or an Embraer E190.
It's supposed to get up to almost 90 today.
Thank you.
I would imagine.
No problem.
Which is like ridiculous. It's already in the 50s in Boston, so I'm like, I can't believe it.
I just told my son when we walked out of the hotel, he says it's fall and
I love it.
It doesn't feel like fall
No, it
down
doesn't.
here.
The mosquitoes have been biting me, which means, you know, the humidity is still pretty high. But again, I'm a weirdo who likes the humidity because
And we're weirdos that love the cold.
no, it's what you're used to, right? One of my friends, like, you know what the problem is? You gotta do winter sports like skiing and sledding and stuff like that. I'm like, yes, with a bad back, and I've had back surgery, I'm always afraid of falling. Alright. Taylor, that thing is enormous. Vertical.
God, I can't.
The plane actually looks like it's out of balance, you know. It looks like it's so
It looks like it's short, right?
With the size of
It
the
is.
tail.
Well, actually,
But
that's
then when that Southwest drove right past it, it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's.
It's actually pretty short. I mean, it's not short, but the reason the tail has to be so tall is to get that yaw. That's why they have to make it a little bit larger. Because the shorter the fuselage, the larger the tail.
Similar with military planes like the B-52. It's got the tiny, slim fuselage, but it's got that humongous tail at the back.
That's a lot. That's the loudest, one of the loudest planes I heard take off with the B-52 from the O'Grady Air Force Base in Puerto Rico. Used every inch of runway to get airborne.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, when we were at the Thunder of Niagara Air Show, you should have heard an F-22 Raptor fighter
Oh, I haven't
jet.
seen them. I've seen it in the static display, but not.
Oh yeah, that thing, when you see that thing move, you're like, you're not going to get away from
You ever
that.
seen I hear the F-35 is loud. The Harrier jet. When it
Oh, yeah, we
hovers,
saw a
like,
Harrier at
on
Rochester.
the show, loudest plane, and it actually reverberated. There were vibrations on the
We
ground.
saw that at the Rochester Air Show 4 years ago.
The thing was loud. The Harrier, you had to cover your ears.
Yeah.
Because I have very sensitive hearing. I'm like, I'm gonna go deaf just listening to this thing. And he doesn't even use that much runway.
There goes that big boy.
Now showing in the Airbus IMAX Theater, aircraft carrier Guardians of the Sea 3D.
72.
The modern U.S. nuclear carrier is one of the greatest
Look
pieces
at that
of
thing
technology
go.
and theory of our time. Find yourself aboard the carrier alongside 5,000 highly skilled sea and air personnel conducting flight operations in the midst of simulated
Took
war
off and it was like,
exercises. See it on a 6-story screen in the
and
Airbus
then all of a sudden he
IMAX
starts to
Theater.
bank and
Now
it's like,
featuring laser projections.
Now that was cool. An Airbus A380
Are available
Super
at the
Jumbo.
box office on the second floor.
Is this place big or is this place big? Well, folks, to start off here, we're not starting off with one of those World War II ones. We're actually starting off with a very old one. This is the Langley Aerodrome from 1903. And with this card that's behind me, this showed that this was from a series of successful landings started by, how did it say it? Sir Samuel Langley, who first tested these things in 1896. This plane was tested only 9 days before the the Wright Flyer from the Wright brothers took off in 1903. This thing, unfortunately, crash landed. However, this thing was another version of this was tested later on by Mr. Glenn Hammond Curtiss. Of course, you should know from the Curtiss SB-2C Helldiver and the P-40 Warhawk. Curtiss was the one who tested this plane under his own parameters and proved that, yes, had it been successful, this would have been the first plane to fly and not the Wright Flyer. So, in alternate history, this thing could have been the first plane and could have stolen the credit. So, history proves a lot of things that we never seem to know about. You just gotta do the right digging. Alright, folks, moving on. Here's our next one. Can any of you tell me what kind of aircraft that is behind me? Here's the question. Is it a Wildcat, Hellcat, Tigercat, Bearcat? We'll come to the side. If any of you guessed the Grumman F6F Hellcat, you'd be correct. This is indeed, in fact, a Grumman F6F Hellcat, also known as the Zero Killer. This thing was a great advancement over its predecessor, the F4F Wildcat. One reason is because you can see the landing gear is not in the nose anymore, but is under the wings. But the greatest thing is this thing's engine. This is powered by a Pratt & Whitney R2800-10 double wasp 18-cylinder air-cooled 2800 horsepower engine. This thing is super good. It was credited with the most Zero kills of the Pacific War, and it was one of the best Pacific carrier fighters of all time. The only one that was really any better than that was the F4U Corsair, which had the inverted gull wing design. If you guys hadn't seen my Thunder over Niagara video, this is it. And of course, no problem. And of course, the greatest part of this was the fact that it had those big 650 caliber machine guns. So, it's a hard-hitting plane, and it can definitely give the Zero a run for its money. So, let us move on to the next one, shall we? Well, everyone, here's the next video on our tour. Can anybody take a guess at what this is? Okay, if any of you guessed the Vought Sikorsky OS-23U Kingfisher, you are correct. This is the Kingfisher. If you guys remember the attack on Pearl Harbor, these things were sitting on the turrets of the battleships. This is an amphibious flyer, so you can tell by the pontoon there. And there were the Japanese equivalents to this, which was known as the roof. But these things were mainly known as for reconnaissance, so don't be trying to send these things getting in any dogfights with anything. However, this thing does have its two 7.62mm machine guns in the rear, just in case it would need for self-defense. When you look at this thing's beautiful. Any of these Navy aircraft are beautiful, because they're pre-war designs, and yet they still manage to make a good success. So, let's move on and make more successes, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, what you see down there is indeed a space shuttle from NASA. Space Shuttle Discovery. This is one of only 3 that I have seen. The other 2, I don't remember what one of them was because it was on an aircraft carrier, but the other one I saw down in Cape Canaveral was indeed Atlantis. Take a look at that.
That'd be great. You make sure you get the space shuttle back. I could try. I mean, that's super for that.
Alright folks, here's the next one. You look behind me, that big beautiful white aircraft right there is the Aerospatiale Concorde. That is the Concorde supersonic airliner. You look, it's a delta wing design, which means that it only has the wings and it goes all the way to the back. So that is really like almost in no need for tail fins on the back. Now, this thing, you can imagine, if you have flown like from New York City to London, it would probably take you between 8 and 10 hours to do that. However, this thing could get there in just 4 hours. Now, the reason that you see why it's so high off the ground is because it is, again, a delta wing. Delta wings have to angle towards the back. That's why it has such tall landing gear down there. And you can see the big jet engines there, which took a lot of fuel and a lot of runway space to help this plane lift into the air. Now, one thing that you probably haven't noticed is this plane, when it lands and takes off, the nose will angle down so the pilot can see. And it also produces drag to help slow the aircraft down. But once this thing goes into the air, that nose straightens out so it can become supersonic. This thing was in service for quite a while until the early 2000s, but unfortunately, after a series of crashes and rising operation costs, they decided to discontinue it. Now, Boeing actually holds the license to put one of these back into service for Air France for the anniversary of the crash, which is for 2024 because it crashed in 2004. This thing actually, believe it or not, one of these landed in Buffalo once. Now this had to land with absolutely almost no fuel left. Why? Because this thing takes a lot of runway space to take off from. And this thing landing at a smaller airport like Buffalo Niagara took a lot of work. But yeah, to be completely honest, I'd love to see one back in the air again. I mean, sure it was expensive, but one in the air to commemorate the accident, I mean, why not? But anyway, we're going to move on because we're getting some more of the big stuff now. So let's go because this is going to be really exciting. Okay, folks, if you're wondering what's above me, this is the underbelly of the Aerospatiale Concorde. You look at these, you see how tall it is off the ground. I'm about 5'4", and judging by the distance, this spot is probably at least 10 feet off the ground. And you look at those giant engines in there, and all this space needing for the perfect aerodynamic flight for this, and not to mention takeoff for this supersonic airliner. It's absolutely incredible. You look at this, how much space just the wings take up. And also, you come over to this side, and you can see this. Here's the front landing gear. It's absolutely incredible. What I wouldn't give to touch that, but I'm not going to be that stupid. But yeah, you look at this. Look at the underside of this. The Concorde is absolutely beautiful. And this is one of only 2 that I've seen. The other one I saw was in New York City at the USS Intrepid Museum. So, we're going to move on and check out a lot of other landmarks, which you'll be seeing real soon. So, stay tuned. Now here's another special one for you folks. You see that long, slender fuselaged and winged aircraft up there? That is the Gossamer Albatross. What is so special about that one? Well, 1, it was built in Britain, and 2, this was the first aircraft ever to fly by bicycle pedal across the English Channel at the Pas de Calais, which is 22 miles away from the cliffs of Dover in England. How do you like this? That plane flew across the English Channel 22 miles by pedaling like a bike. Ultra lightweight, well, and pretty slow at that, but absolutely perfect for that right type of flight. It is amazing how aircraft pioneers can do such things. Now here's yet another one, folks. As we look over there, that right there is the Sikorsky X2 technology trainer. That indeed is the world's fastest helicopter. Now you can see it has counter-rotating blades, which is similar to a lot of Sikorsky designs, and also, you look right there on the end, that's another propeller blade. This thing in 2010 became the fastest helicopter in the world by reaching 288 miles an hour. And the Sikorsky team was given the famous Collier Trophy, which is to help with aircraft development. That is very impressive and rare. I cannot believe that they actually have this thing here. What can I say? Developments of aircraft are beautiful. Let's continue. Well, folks, here's the next highlight. You look at this big aircraft that I'm standing in front of? This is the Boeing Super Constellation. This thing was an aircraft mainly designed for the Air Force at first, but then it became actually an airliner. Now, here's a fun fact that I learned. Back in the 1960s, there was a Super Connie that showed up at an airport out of nowhere and it landed and almost caused a couple of accidents, actually. But it was discovered that a plane like that had disappeared 32 years before. So I may have the times wrong, but I'll probably let you know another time. But this thing would have, this thing landed. Sorry, there's a person behind me. This plane landed, and when they opened it, there was nothing in there but skeletons. That's right, just skeletons of the crew and the passengers. So yeah, pretty incredible aircraft. Amazing stories behind it. Alright, folks, take a look at this one. This one is a very rare one, I'll tell you this. This one, as you can see, is pretty incredible. As you see here, the Curtiss F9C2 Sparrowhawk. Now you look at this one, this is a biplane, but this is not the incredible part about it. On the side it says USS Macon. This would have been put on a dirigible that was similar to the Hindenburg. You look up there, that little contraption right there would have connected to the bottom. That would have been on a gantry on the bottom of the Macon or its sister, the Akron. And this thing would have been dragged up inside. So you can imagine having airships like this fly over an enemy territory and have these drop out. And the best part about this is the only intact one left after the Akron crashed and the Macon also crashed. Say that right? Yeah, I said that both right. But you can believe this. That's incredible how this is the last intact one. Rarities in the air are absolutely incredible. Don't you agree? Alright folks, here's the next one. Can any of you tell me what this tri-motor plane behind me is? If you said that's a Junkers Ju-52 transport, you are right. You see up there it says Lufthansa, which is the German air lines. And if any of you know, this plane, of course, was famous for being a troop transport during the Second World War. Here, I'll show you an underside view of it. Pretty cool, huh? There was a big problem with having a tri-motor plane. The thing was, you had to be careful with the lift, and you had to be careful with its stability. This thing was not necessarily the mostly stable plane, but it did do its job. The only problem was it was slow, and this thing, when it was hit, it would go down, and it would go down hard. But yeah, you look at the view of this thing. I apologize, it's not a very good view because the wing is kind of in the way. Actually, I might be able to do another view here as we go under the wing. There's the view of the tail right there. And you look, it's absolutely incredible. Like basically I could just almost reach up and touch this. I'm probably about 4 inches away. But yeah, and the fact that they used these with the German airlines for a while, after the war too, actually, it's pretty incredible. It's funny how some planes outlived the Third Reich. Hey, Western New Yorkers. And have you been to the Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Park? If you have, I hope you recognize this. You know what that is? That's a Talos missile. Those are the things that would have been fired off of the Little Rock after it was transformed into a Galveston-class cruiser. Pretty incredible, huh? It's absolutely amazing. You find so many things here. And as you look above me, you see all the various drones and things that people would have used for target practice for these missiles. It's absolutely astounding just how much you can find here. Oh, check this out. We got interesting things here. Look at these. We got all these different rockets and stuff from here. And look at this, everybody. Remember the AAF Tank Museum? That's a Panzerschreck. That's an anti-tank weapon. Is that not incredible? It's like I said, you look at all this stuff, it's absolutely amazing. And now, here you guys are going to see stuff that are really super incredible. So, follow me. You'll really enjoy this. So here we are at the first one. This is German, everybody. Can you tell what this is? Anybody who plays War Thunder? Time's up. This is the Ruhestahl F1, or also known as the Fritz X. Or actually, excuse me, that's the X1 then. This thing was the world's first guided munition. That's right. You look at these ailerons back here on this tail. These would have been guided by remote control through those modules from a control aircraft. Most likely something similar to a Dornier, probably 217 or something similar. And up here, that is an armored tipped nose that would hold the warhead. Many of those who know their history would know this most famously for attacking and sinking the Italian battleship Roma on its way to Malta and severely damaging its sister, the Italia. Here's a little thing of the information card, as it does say, what did I just say? Dornier 217. I was right. Pretty incredible, is it? So now, we'll go along with some of the other ones. Take a look at these. Here first we see an HS-117 Schmetterling missile. Here we got the information here. I personally have never seen one like this, but I have seen ones that are this. The HS-293 guided bomb. This thing did absolute terrors to ships that were off of with the Mediterranean, and also those for D-Day. Now, the funny thing is that the way I have read this is that most of these bombs attacked more and did more damage to British ships than American ships. Now, that is only what I have heard. Don't tell me anything wrong. I'm just saying my opinion from what I have heard. Now, here's the next one. Take a look at this. The Rheintoker. This one I'm pretty sure was to be designed as an anti-aircraft missile. Take a look. Here's the information sheet. Pause it if you want to read the information more. Isn't that cool? It is absolutely incredible, all these things that you see. Now, I should have you know, you're going to be seeing some more of these once we get out of this spot of the museum. And I must tell you, if you probably never learned, those of you who are listening, our missiles were actually captured German missiles, which were the first ones that we tested. The Bumper 5 was a modified German V2 missile. But it's absolutely incredible. You just look at all this stuff above me, around me. It's absolutely amazing. It is quite amazing in all aspects how things can change throughout history. Let's move on, shall we? Well, folks, here's the next one. You see this elegant aircraft behind me? Can you tell what that is? No, that is not an F-22 Raptor. Ladies and gentlemen, this is officially the first ever model of the F-35B Lightning II, the Joint Strike Fighter. And you look right next to it, that over there shows the engine that's in this thing. This is to be one of the greatest aircraft of the modern day. Now, unlike the F-22 Raptor, which is purely a fighter, this is a Joint Strike Fighter, which means it can do rescue, it can do vertical takeoff, and short takeoff and vertical landing, because it stands for the VSTOL. Also, these things will also be able to attack ground targets as well. And just like the Raptor, all of its armament is housed internally. So how do you like that? It's absolutely incredible. You think about this. The first ever model of the F-35, that for this one known as the X-35. Just look at that. Is that not beautiful? I will say, these aircraft nowadays are absolutely sexy. Okay, folks, for this next one, you're going to see 3 rotary wing aircraft that are probably some of the best known of all time. And here we go. We're going to start with this one. This one behind me, as you should recognize, this is the Chinook. As it says, the CH-46E. This one, according to this little placard, is saying this is the Sea Knight. I personally have never heard of this one. But this is one of the principal flying aircraft of this time with rotary wings, and it's absolutely incredible. You ever hear one of these things, you'll hear the big, deep wah 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 wah. You'll tell it's a Chinook because these double rotors make it a big thumping noise. Next, and I'll say second is the best for this one, because this is definitely one of the best of all time. Take a look. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the Bell UH-1 Iroquois, commonly known as the Huey. One of the best known aircraft of all time. It is actually still used today by some countries. And of course, anybody who was in Vietnam would have flown in one of these, more likely. This thing is sturdy, rugged, and can mount an impressive armament as a gunship, including Vulcan miniguns. But those are not the 167s, the 20s. These are the M134s, the 7.62s. And yes, these things could wreak havoc on the Viet Cong. And of course here you'll see a little view of the placard. And then next is his big brother. Say hello to the Huey Cobra. And that right down there, which is what was not on the one at the AAF, that's a chain gun. That's triple barreled. The reason why they call it a chain gun is because literally the bullets are technically on a chain. And you saw on the side there, that's where missiles can go. Now, unlike the original real Huey, the Cobra is just a gunship. But the Huey could do so much more. Troop transport, medevac, gunship, and a lot of times, definitely, reconnaissance. It's absolutely incredible, all these things that you find nowadays. And the Huey is definitely one of them. Helicopters, you have to appreciate. You just absolutely have to appreciate it. So now, we're actually moving on to the next one. And this one is actually in a little bit rougher shape, but you'll get a look at it anyways. So, follow me to the front. As you see, we go under the wing. Anybody who plays any video games can probably try and guess that. This one here. Say hello to the Sikorsky JRS-1 flying boat. This one, as you can probably tell, is one that is very similar to the Catalina flying boat that we used. Well, one thing you'll know is because the two engines that it has are in the very similar spots. The pontoons, which are on both of the wings, are also very similar. And it's got basically the exact same hull design. So let's see. Now this one is actually technically a predecessor to the Catalina, but it is very similar. This one is sort of, I guess you could say it's probably more of a civilian version of the Catalina, but this one was produced by Sikorsky Aircraft, and the Catalina was built by the Consolidated Aircraft Company. So yeah, you can imagine just how much there is nowadays with all of these aircraft. It's absolutely beautiful. Oh, and take a look. You got several different models and things. There's a model of the Delta Wing for the Concorde. And now look as we go along. All of these engines. Just how many of these there are. Pratt & Whitney's, Samson's, Lycomings. Pratt & Whitney is a big one. There's also Wright engines, which was like for the Curtiss Wright as well. And, yes, the big old Allisons as well. And I wonder if we can find the correct one. We'll see. Yes, there's Continental engines as well. Lycomings as well. Wright Aeronauticals. But yet I'm surprised I didn't see any of the Rolls-Royce Merlins for the P-51 Mustang. That's one that you absolutely have to have. But anyway, let's continue on because you're going to see another one up above. Ready? Hello, hello. Anybody remember from Thunder of Niagara and the Geneseo Air Show? That's right. That's the Vought F4U Corsair. That thing has the same R2800-10, and I made a mistake before. It's actually 2,000 horsepower, not 2,800, as the Hellcat and the Wildcat. And if you, any of you remember the nickname that it was called that I told you about? I hope you guessed it right. So, if you guessed it right and you remember from the videos without looking, mention that in the comments. So, we're going to continue because we got a few more to go to, and I'll tell you, it's absolutely still so stunning and amazing. So, let's continue on, shall we? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here's one of my favorite jet aircraft of all time. Take a look. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Lockheed Martin SR-71 Blackbird supersonic reconnaissance aircraft. My uncle, who was actually at one time employed by the Lockheed Skunk Works in California, he did work on stuff like this. Only he was more in the business administration department. But you look at this. Sleek, supersonic, and during the Cold War, Russian missiles could not hit this thing. Why was that? Because this thing could go Mach 3.2. That's right, 3.2 times the speed of sound. It's absolutely amazing, these things. Well, if you look, I'm right underneath the Corsair. But the reason for this with the SR-71 is, as we go along, you see, super sleek and slender design, which was designed off of the predecessor, the A-12, and also due to the fact of these big giant engines. So you can imagine this plane had a lot to it. Now, I don't exactly remember the stats, but let's see if up front, where the placard is, let's see if we can tell. Aha! Once again, more Pratt & Whitney engines. You look, 2 Pratt & Whitney J58 GT11D-20B, 34,000 pounds of thrust. 34,000 pounds. Can you imagine that? This is only one of 2 Blackbirds that I have seen. The other, which was on the USS Intrepid in New York City, and I saw that 4 years ago. We're almost wrapping up. We still got a few more things to see, and I'm going to be getting video of a lot of them, so stay tuned. Here's another one, folks. Can any of you figure this one out? This one is the Westland Lysander 3A, which was a British reconnaissance aircraft from the Second World War. As you can see, this is actually a similar thing to the Gloucester Gladiator, but it's monoplane design, and as you can see, as you can tell, as a lot of British aircraft were, they were painted black. Now I can imagine how much heat do you think this thing would have been retaining in the sun all that time? I don't think you'd want to be that. Basically, you'd be dancing on those wings like a cat on a hot tin roof. And now, we'll come to my second favorite aircraft of all time. Take a look right here. Everybody, here is another Curtiss P-40 Warhawk. Isn't that beautiful? That's what the Red Tails would have done before the P-51 Mustang. And yes, as you can see, it's got that famous shark nose, as a lot of them did. And trust me, this scared the hell out of the enemy when they first saw it. So, we're going to continue on. And I hope you guys really enjoyed these. Oh, also I should have you know, since the Corsair is right next to us, each of these planes had the same armament. As you look, right there, 6 Browning 50 cal machine guns. Heaviest hitting guns in the air. My opinion, though. So, let us get a move on, shall we? Okay, folks, for this next part, we're going to be looking at 2 World War I era planes, and you're really going to want to see these. So, we're going to take a look at this one. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but I'll try my best. The Halberstadt CL4, which clearly means CL4. This, you can see, by that ring in the back, that is a reconnaissance plane. Reconnaissance was one of the most important things of World War I. In fact, most planes started out with just being reconnaissance. And this one says that this would have also been a terrific ground attack aircraft. Because as it shows with this picture right here, you could mount machine guns there. And here's a better look. Actually, if you look right there in that picture, those are Maxim Spandau machine guns. So yeah, ground attack aircraft is definitely an interesting thing. In fact, it was very tricky for that because that's when anti-aircraft guns started to be putting into use. Now, this next one I'm going to show you is a variant of one of my favorites of the First World War, by far. Okay, so here, everybody, say hello to the SPAD 16, a variant of the SPAD 13. As you can see in the back, it's got 2 Lewis machine guns, 303 of course, which is 7.7 millimeter. This thing, as a fighter, the SPAD 13, was one of the best that we ever used. In fact, that is the plane, the SPAD 13, that our most famous ace of World War I, Eddie Rickenbacker, used in his conquest. And yes, these aircraft may look flimsy, but you gotta realize, back then, well, what can you expect? Now we're gonna be seeing a few more, so I'll bring them around to you. And you're definitely going to like these because you got to appreciate just how far we came from First World War to Second World War and everything after that. So, let's get a move on, shall we? Alright, folks, I said I would give you another surprise, and well, I got one for you. Check this one out. Ready? One of the most famous aircraft of World War I. Yes, this is the Sopwith Camel. One of the most famous fighters of World War I, and this was the fighter plane that would have been the one to shoot down the Red Baron. As they say, it's more of a it's still very controversial about how the Red Baron died, but basically, the pilot that shot him down did a maneuver that worked like this. How it was done is, the Red Baron was said to have hit in the armpit, and that's where it passed through his lungs and killed him. That is because the pilot in a Sopwith Camel did a maneuver that was to fool enemy pilots. He rolled his plane over and went down until he almost disappeared from the Red Baron's view. He then came back up under his blind spot underneath and shot him from underneath. As it said, he came up from a leftward angle and fired. So that round basically went up through the fuselage, up through his armpit, and into his vitals. But away from that, now, here you can see, here's the placard for it, so pause the video again if you must read it. But as you look at this thing, as it turns out, this thing was actually very tricky to perform with if you did not have a good handle on it. Because this big engine here, if you didn't keep the slightest adjustment on it, this thing would veer to the left. That's right, that thing would veer to the left or right, and you could lose control. That's why this thing was powerful for the time, but you had to make sure that you were in control. So everyone, this concludes the World War I part of this, and now it is finally time to bring on the best part of the museum, the World War II aircraft. So, let's go. So, ladies and gentlemen, we hereby start this World War II section off with a British aircraft. And my buddy Brandon Morgan, who plays War Thunder, this one's for you. This is the Hawker Hurricane 2C. And yes, Brandon, old boy, you can tell, those are two 20mm Hispano cannons in the wing. There are 4 of them total in this. This was one of the greatest planes of World War II for the Battle of Britain, because this thing could take so much punishment and yet still come back fighting. Now, actually, it was proven that this plane got more of the kills during the Battle of Britain. This thing was a lot more rugged than its counterpart, the Supermarine Spitfire, which is, I admit, a lot prettier. But it's like I said, it's very rugged, and this thing's 4 20mm cannons could do devastating effects to fighters like the Me-109 and the bombers that they used, the He-111 and the Ju-88 and the Stuka. So, yeah, we continue this tour, and it shows you just how much things have come from the first times of aviation to now. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we go on to the next part of the tour. Take a look at that, boys and girls. You recognize that? That right there is a Lockheed P-38 Lightning, one of the best twin-boom aircraft of all time. You look at that in the nose, that was the Sting. Because it was twin-boom and it had 2 engines, it had to have the armament in the nose because it really couldn't fit it anywhere else. But that's where it got fierce. That armament there is 4 50 cal machine guns and 1 20mm cannon. All that concentrated firepower in that tiny little nose on this big plane was absolutely devastating. In fact, as I mentioned, my old friend, Captain Nelson D. Gregorio, who passed away this past summer, or last summer, excuse me, he was escorted by these things. Now granted, these things weren't the best aircraft to be escorted by, unlike the Warhawk or the Mustang or the Thunderbolt, but if this thing got its pipper on the enemy aircraft, this would have definitely done a lot of devastating things. This is actually, in regards to all of my favorite aircraft, this is actually my 5th. And they go in the following from the 5th to the 1st, excuse me. It goes the P-38 Lightning, then it goes the P-47 Thunderbolt, then it goes the Bell P-39 Airacobra, then the Curtiss P-40 Warhawk, and then finally the North American P-51 Mustang. But anyway, we're going to continue on with this tour, and we're going to continue to wrap these things up, so let's get moving. We got a lot more to do. Cool. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we got another incredible aircraft. Here's my 4th favorite. That's right. Say hello to the P-47 Thunderbolt. commonly known as the Juggernaut or the Jug. Now, as you probably had seen this in one of my other previous videos. If not, I'll go and explain it to you. The reason why it was called the Juggernaut is because it had this big engine here. This big engine was the same engine that was in the B-17 Flying Fortress. And this thing could take a lot of punishment. And judging by this is the P-47D, which had the bubble canopy like the P-51 Mustang. And hey, check it out. It's got those black and white D-Day stripes. So you know what that means. This was probably during or following the Normandy invasion. And of course, as everybody likes to know, right there, those 450 caliber machine guns in each wing, that's 8 of them. That is why this one was known world-renownedly as a ground attack aircraft. And when this thing mounted rocket pods and bombs and extra fuel tanks on it, oh yeah, this could do a lot of damage. So, with that being said, let's continue on. Alright folks, next section we're moving on to the German ones. That's right, the Deutsches Luftwaffe. And first one, and all these are going to be in War Thunder, so Brandon Morgan, tell them if I don't tell them. First off, we bring you to one of the aerial tanks of the war. This is the Focke-Wulf FW-190. This is the F variant, it says. This thing was a principal weapon against the P-51 Mustang. Only problem was its ruggedness did not account for its maneuverability, so the Mustang would get it there. This thing also had a lot of harder hitting cannons, and as you can see, it could carry bombs as well. But again, these things were just built in too fewer numbers. And as it said, for the Battle of Britain, had more of these been built, chances are there might have been a difference in the outcome of the battle. Had that outcome might have changed, I don't know. But all I can say is that we continue to move on. Now, one thing I did want to tell you is, if you look over there, you'll see in a picture from the machine shop, or the restoration hangar, those are the wings and tail fins of the Me-110 Uhu, which is Eagle Owl, which was a heavy fighter of the Second World War. So, we continue this on. This is just all the incredible things that we find. And we're going to see the placard after this, so let's continue on and check out these Deutsche Wunderwaffe. Alright folks, moving on. Here we got another one. Can anybody of you play War Thunder tell what this is? I hope you can. That's right. This is an Arado AR-234B Blitz. Another German Wunderwaffe. This was the world's first jet bomber. Now as you can see, that bomb right there, the reason why it is strapped under the belly like that is because the AR-234 Blitz did not have any room in a bomb bay for it. All its bombs had to be carried below it, on the underbelly or under the wings. And as you know, you probably heard that these were some of the aircraft that attacked the Ludendorff Railroad Bridge at Remagen, Germany during the crossing. It's incredible how we've come so far, and you gotta realize just how much came out of the Second World War with the Germans. What can I say? People have intelligence. Use it. Okay, folks, I got a real special one for you, especially you, Brandon, old boy. Everybody, take a look at this feat of German engineering. If any of you can figure that out, let me tell you this. That is correct. That is the Dornier DO-335 Feel, or Arrow. This was the fastest piston fighter aircraft of all time. You'll note, it has an engine in the front, an engine in the back. This aircraft was the only push-pull aircraft design to ever get into the air during a time of war. Now, the reason why it is like this is because they wanted to make it faster than our Mustangs or the British Spitfires. There was only one problem with this, though. If they were to eject, they would need to have some sort of ejection system where the seat would actually have to shoot out of the aircraft. Why is that? Because the pilot would be at risk of hitting that back propeller. This is one of the very few that have ever been captured. I don't know if any other actually survived, but this aircraft is like a record breaker. And I have a lot of respect for this aircraft. A lot of those, experimentational designs, you gotta admit, experimental then, forgive me for saying so. Just all these designs that just came out. It's amazing. Now, here is probably the crown jewel of German experimental aircraft designs. And I was amazed to see this here. Everybody, have a look at this. You see that? That is one of the only surviving models of the Horten HO-229 flying wing that was captured in Germany. This was almost ready to fly when it was captured by our forces. It was. I've seen the original pictures of it in its factory. A lot of it is still being restored, though. You can actually see the wings right there behind it. But you just think, this thing, had it come out, it would have been such a change in tactics for us. It could have turned the tide. Fast, stealthy, as it would have been equipped with radar-absorbent material, and having hard-hitting 30mm cannons, we could have suffered a lot of losses from this had the war not gone the way it was. So, remember, all those who know the B-2 stealth bomber out there, the Spirit, which is what my uncle flew in during Operation Desert Storm, remember this. Their credit came from this. Came from the Horten 229. Remember that. All these experimental aircraft, beautiful, amazing, just too little, and far, far, far too late. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have covered the German part of this. We are now going to cover the Japanese part of this. I have a lot of respect for the Japanese with their aircraft, especially Mitsubishi. So now, we take a look at the first one on it. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the Nakajima N1K2JA Shindenkai, also known as the George. This aircraft was a heavier fighter of the Japanese Empire during the Second World War, and as you can see, this thing has 4 20mm cannons in it. Sorry, guy just walked over there. This one, in particular, as I read, is one of only 3 remaining in the world. Can you believe that? Now, why they nicknamed it the George, I have no idea. But, now, yeah, the Shindenkai, which I still have no idea what that means. I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's no Mitsubishi A6M50 or anything, but yeah, it's amazing. Just how rare these things are. That's why you got to appreciate them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to show you two aircraft. It's kind of hard to show you both at this time, but I'm going to try it the best I can. So, you're going to get a look at these. Take a look at these. The one right here at the front is an Aichi aircraft, as you can see. It is an M6A1 Siren. It is a Japanese seaplane. This would have been one of those, if any of you have heard of the Japanese I-400 Sentoku submarine from the end of the war, these would have been the ones carried inside. The more important one is the one right at the back. That right there is what is known as a Kika, or Orange Blossom. That was Japan's own jet fighter developed during the end of the war. And yes, it was a copy of the German Me-262. I'm sorry you can't really see much. Its wings and engines are working on being restored. But you can see just how much these things were. And you gotta imagine just how much went into these designs. And you look, like the Siren, like, this was actually designed, if we actually can get a good view of it, this was designed off of the aircraft codenamed as the Tony, which was the American copy of the Mustang, or excuse me, Japanese version of the Mustang. But you could see just how much things have changed, and it's quite incredible. Just how things are codenamed in war astounds me. Whether it's German, Japanese, American, Russian, British, who knows? But what can I tell you? It's amazing. Simply just think about it. Okay, folks, we're now going to show you two incomplete models, but they have been preserved by the museum here. So we're going to start with the first one. This incomplete thing you see here is the Kawasaki Ki-45 Kai, the Toryu, or we called it the Nick, which was a two-engine heavy fighter. And as you can see right here, it would have also been used as a reconnaissance aircraft, and probably, I'm pretty sure, a ground attack aircraft. Now you can see the big thing in the nose. We'll come past the card. That's a cannon right there. And if you look up above, those two little things, those are cannons as well. You can believe, as it says on the sheet, yeah, one 37mm cannon in the nose and two 20mm cannons right above it. So judging by how this would have been, is that this wouldn't only have been probably a ground attack aircraft, but judging by the way the cannons look, this particular version right here just might have been a bomber hunter. Now, there are very few of these that actually would have been known, but what I do know is that bomber hunting aircraft like this would have wanted to come under the bomber and shoot up the underside. There was only one problem with that, though. The problem with that would have been that the, how can I say this? There was a stinger underneath called a ball turret. Those things could have done absolutely terrors to that. And had it not gone past it, excuse me, the tail gunner could have got it too. Now, this one is also very rare. And Mr. Morgan, this is also for you. Take a look at this. You recognize that nose? That is a Kyushu J7W Shinden nose. That's right. That's the nose of the Japanese pusher aircraft, the Shinden, that was never further than the test flight. It's pretty incredible. You ever look at pictures of it, which I'll show you after this clip, you'll see in the placards, just how much people were trying to get these into the air for combat, to try and change the tide of war. But the problem was, well, again, too little, too late. That's what happens with aircraft like these. Next, folks, I wanted to show you something that is absolutely nuts, okay? Take a look at this behind me. You remember from the air show? That right there is a Kujisho MXY-7 Oka, the infamous Cherry Blossom rocket kamikaze plane. This one, as it said on the placard, and I had no idea that this was around like this. This is the Model 22, which was unlike the Model 11. The Model 11 only had a rocket-powered jet engine. This thing had a rocket-motored reciprocating combustion engine. This, unlike the Model 11, never saw service, but this is the only Model 22 Oka to survive. And again, like I said, you can imagine being a ship's gunner, seeing that thing hurling straight at you, and them just looking right down that sight. They're not scared, they're not angry or anything. They're just heading straight in. That is absolutely nuts. Now, next on the tour of the Japanese aircraft, and actually the last of the Japanese aircraft, we're going to get a very good look at this one. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Nakajima J1N1S Gecko, also known as the Irving. Seeing this is incredible. This is definitely a heavy aircraft. And it says this is an escort fighter, so chances are this is a twin-engine heavy fighter. As you can see, this I'm pretty sure is the night fighter variant, because this thing has a little radar spritz here. That's the reason why they would have these. And not only this could have been used for kamikaze attacks, which I do know they have done a little. But yeah, it's spooky, all these things that you can find out. And you look at it, just look at that deep green, dark black color. You can imagine seeing stuff like this. Yeah, I don't think I really need to vouch for anybody. I think you can definitely vouch for yourselves for this. Remember, these were developed, all these aircraft were developed to do things against the enemy that just, they couldn't get to that potential. Because, like I said, an island nation having its resources cut off and finding better equipment just coming at it in numbers that they were not expecting, that's the fate. That is the fate. But we gotta move on. So we're going to see some of the best ones that I saved for last. And I saved 3 of them for last. So let's continue and finish this up. Because after that, we're traveling to Gettysburg and I'm driving. Well, folks, I just heard the news. This place is going to be closing in 15 minutes, so we're going to have to wrap this up quickly. So let me show you. That right there, Brandon, old boy, that's again for you. That's a P-61 Black Widow Night Fighter. What a devastating machine that one is. And we got to move, because I haven't even been into the shop yet. So we got to get this done quickly, so follow me. I didn't realize this at first, but I missed this plane when I came down here originally. So, we gotta get moving. Thunder Chief. There's the Cobra again. Huey right there. There's the Chinook. And there's the Sikorsky. This is a very surprise aircraft for you, so let's get this moving. I'm sorry, I gotta go past so many people. There's the big hangar doors. Alright, everybody, here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, the Curtiss SB-2C Helldiver. One of the greatest dive bombers of all time. built by the Curtiss Wright Works. This one was built in Ohio. Some of them were also built by the Curtiss Wright headquarters in Niagara Falls, New York. This plane was developed to drop heavy punches to the Japanese Navy. And these aircraft specifically helped do the bombing and torpedo attacks on the Japanese battleship Yamato during the Tengo mission in April of 1945. This thing, unlike its predecessor, the Dauntless, could haul twice that weight. And I love this aircraft. It's absolutely beautiful. Just thinking about this kind of bomber, you gotta realize just how many G-forces they had to go diving in and coming up out of those dives. Just picture that. Imagine all that stress. You think you know what it feels like to be stressed? I don't think so. Alright folks, to wrap this up quickly, I am showing you the star of the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center. And I'm coming down to show you underneath it. Are you guys ready? I hope you are. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the B-29 Superfortress, the Enola Gay. This plane, piloted from Tinian in August of 1945, dropped the first atomic bomb on Japan. The bomb, Little Boy, made out of powered by uranium to the Japanese city of Hiroshima. Another plane very much like this, called Boxcar. They dropped the next bomb, a plutonium bomb, called Fat Man, on Nagasaki a few days later. Just look at this baby. Beautiful, silver. It's absolutely astounding. In fact, I'm going to snap a picture right now. It is amazing to see that this was one of the planes that helped end the war. So you have a look. Here, I'll get another little view. Look at this underneath here. Can you believe that? I just took some pictures just to let you know. Look at those engines there. Is this not beautiful? I have got to say, I am so impressed with this. And, oh my God, it's amazing. You having the guts to go up in there and having to drop something that nobody has ever seen before. It's amazing. Well, everybody, that concludes the inside part of this. So, we say goodbye to the Enola Gay. We say goodbye to planes like the Hellcat, the Concorde, the Lightning, the Helldiver, and a lot more. This was an absolutely incredible trip. Now it's time to go up and hit the gift shop. And we gotta hurry. Well, folks, this is the end for the... Whoa! Check it out! So, this is the end of our visit to the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center. I'm heading back to the car. My dad is actually there already because he had a headache, so he wanted to lay down for a little bit. So, oh, also, Yeah, I got more stuff, so it is time to get into the car. We're probably gonna stop somewhere to eat, and we're gonna get going to Gettysburg. So we'll arrive there in a little while, so it's only gonna take about an hour and a half, so we're just gonna get going, and I gotta tell you, this was an incredible stay. God bless the Smithsonian Institution. So, let us move on to our next destination. Hoo-yah!
That way with the fire procedure that we have currently.
That's why what I'm saying is I'm fine if this model this is how they want to try to behave.
Parkway.
Oh yeah. So long to the DC area for now. And now we are off to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Fire at will!
In 1/2 mile, take the ramp on the right to 28 North.
Here folks, we got a treat for you. Check this out. Because we're near Dulles, we now get some clear plane spotting. And check this one out. I'm gonna try this. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but let's give it a shot. Yeah. I'm coming up onto this embankment to try and get a high-level view. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, look at that beautiful view. And we're gonna be seeing more, so... Oh yeah, here comes one now. Check this out. Now an unrestricted view of the runway. Here we go. Look at him go. Stay tuned, folks. They'll be coming. Yep. That, my friends, is either an Airbus A330 or possibly, wait, I think of it, it's probably a Boeing 777, just like I flew on to Hawaii 8 years ago. Is this not incredible? Amazing.
In action, the Chargers are on top of the Raiders 17-3. The Vikings a 17-3 lead on the Eagles at half. The Cardinals are leading the 49ers 14-6 heading
In a quarter mile, keep left at the fork to continue toward Virginia 28 North.
In 1/4 mile, keep left to Sun Road.
Now, the post-game show continues. Here's Nate Geary. Brought to you by Northwest Bank. Make the switch to Northwest Bank and get back to living.
Good evening, everyone. Nate Geary here. Welcome to the
Keep left at the fork.
By Seneca Poker inside the Seneca systemly, or how to be an effective offense in the NFL. But you know, there is an overlying job. If this isn't this season, if they figure out ways to win football games, they're 2-3. They're not tanking as much as people continue to. I see it on Twitter, and they're doing this. They're not. I mean, they're not. 803-0551, 888-552-550, your numbers to call. I'd love to hear from you if you're headed back home. If you're already home listening in, I'd love to hear from you. You can tweet at me at NateGearyWGR. Talking a lot about this this whole mindset that at the end of the day, we want to be like Kansas City. We want to be like LA. We want to win games.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we said, crossing the Potomac River, and welcome to the state of Maryland, leaving Virginia. Done anything since. You know, it's just to a point where they need to add wide receiver talent if they want him to develop into the quarterback that they're asking him to be, or they want him to be, or everybody wants him to be. They don't have Welcome to the Keystone State, Pennsylvania. Next stop, Gettysburg.
Turn left onto Pennsylvania 116 West, Hanover Street.
The environment.
Turn left on Hanover Road.
Eco-architecture is the next big thing in construction. Be sure to think about the environment when expanding or redesigning your home. Repurposing and reusing lumber, stone, windows, and doors reduce generated waste. In addition, repurposed materials cut down on manufacturing and transportation cost, which can reduce what you end up spending, all while helping out the environment. It all starts with one. To protect the environment. Here's
Continue on Pennsylvania 116 West for 1 mile.
In 1/2 mile, turn right on North 6th Street. In 1/4 mile, turn right on York Street. Turn right on York Street. In 1/2 mile, arrive at 865 York Road on the right. In 1/2 mile, arrive at 865 York Road on the right. In 400 feet, arrive at 865 York Road on the right.
Well, folks, here we are. We are at the Days Inn just outside Gettysburg. So we're going to be going and grabbing a bite to eat. And then, well, that's after we check in, of course. And then we'll be spending here the night. And then tomorrow we'll be exploring around Gettysburg. And then we'll be heading on home. So let's head in. Let's get situated and grab some grub. What a cushy little place. Nice. Second to top floor, huh, Daddy-O? Second to top floor.
Yeah, that's another 4th floor stay. 412 this time instead of 416.
Interesting. And look at that, our room's right here.
Look at that.
Ooh, twin beds. Cool. Oh. And that's what I call a nice view. We got a little chair with an ottoman here. Got a microwave and a fridge. Lamp with a desk. Nice flat screen. Central table. And we got the sink and stuff out here. And the bathroom right there. Cushy, isn't it? So here's what the room looks like all lit up now. My dad's done taking a shower. And now we're gonna head out into town and see what we can find to eat. Let's go, because I'm famished. Ready to go, Dad? Yo. Ooh, green. Nice. And away we go for food. Well, that dinner was pretty good, I'd say. Took a little longer than we were expecting to wait for that meal, but I gotta admit, the quality of food, and the place, as you saw, was called Perkins, was pretty good. I got a little omelet, got a little cheddar and pepper jack cheese in it. It's very nice. Puts a little zest into it. Got some breakfast fries, you know, the chopped up potatoes, and I got myself a couple of biscuits. Those were good. But now, we're heading back up to the room. Gonna relax a little bit before going to bed later, so we'll see you guys. I'll get probably one last video in. And, yeah, another successful day. Cool.